What's going on? Clint Bertucci. We're here with Tyler Poggi in Florence, Italy, who is a very close friend of mine. I've known him for probably close to 10 years now. Met him when I first started traveling in Florence, and he's actually in Florence right now on lockdown. So we're going to just talk about a couple things. What's up, brother?
What's happening, Tooch? How you doing, bro?
Doing good, man. It's been a minute. I guess I won't be seeing you this year with the groups.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, man. We were looking forward to seeing you guys out here. We had a great time last summer, so
Yeah.
that's a bummer. But
so I just want to kind of talk to you about what you're going through, and I think we're going to be going through the same thing as far as lockdown here shortly in Florida. So maybe any advice. So what is going on? Like, you're locked down, huh?
yeah, basically, they've been gradually kind of shutting it down. We had the outbreak that happened a little bit north of here, up near Milan, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they first started implementing some stops on trains and on passenger traffic, not commercial stuff, but different private people with cars and whatnot, and they were taking people's temperatures, and if you had a high temperature, you had to take a test, and if you didn't, you could go through. And then they let it go, and then they reopened it the next day for some reason or something, and then it was pretty normal, so to speak, and people were moving around, and there was talk about, whether or not the other countries in the EU should shut it down or not, and that kind of goes against what the EU stands for, which is the open borders and whatnot. And, now we have a situation where last week on Sunday, they shut down everything that was related to any type of business, bar, restaurant, and then on Monday it immediately shifted over to anything that was any type of business that that wasn't a necessity. So you have your food is open, your pharmacies are open, some of the banks were open until this week, but
Damn,
that's pretty much how it is.
that's where
So
we're at
that's
right now.
yeah.
So
And
then what? And then after that, you just got quarantined? They
well, I
said,
mean, it's basically you're supposed to stay at home, or there's been a couple of different forms that they've sent out through your various, it's on the health department's equivalent website that you download, and you're supposed to carry that with you. And it basically says, you fill your name in, and it says, I live here and I'm going to do this. And there's 4 options. And the options are, basic needs or work related, or I'm returning to home, or medical needs. And the police can, basically stop you. And they've been pretty cool about it. If you talk to them, they haven't stopped me, but the police are also carrying the forms, because they have to make a report every time they stop someone. So if you don't have one, it's kind of up to them to either buy your story or not. But basically that's probably cut back on a lot of obviously everybody that I know, everybody's staying home. There's no business is being done right now. My business has been closed since I actually closed before the closing. I shut down that weekend just because the situation was already starting to develop into something that was a risk for people and a risk for my staff and whatnot. So I tried to make sure that we stayed ahead of the curve there.
and for those of you who don't know, he actually owns a bar out there. What, a bar, restaurant? What would we call that? Little bar, right?
It's a little bar. Yeah, it's called a Green Street Bar. We're a cafe during the
Amazing.
day, and then
Always a good time there.
Yeah, so they that was obviously one of the that's really hard for all the businesses in the economy here. But the main thing is and the most important thing is the diffusion of this virus. Because which is widely it's widely available in the news or whatnot. But I think that a lot of people are failing to understand that there's 3 different ways that you get this thing. And the first is you get it and you can, have mild to no symptoms. You can be somebody that basically carries it. So you shed it wherever you go. It's something that by breathing, by talking, by handshaking, by touching surfaces, you're passing that on to people or whatnot. And then, the second thing is that you do get it and you get some sort of the flu symptom or, fever, and it sometimes develops into a dry cough or whatnot. And that'll usually, in most people that are healthy and at a certain age group, can you usually just kind of get through it, and it seems like a normal flu, that coupled with, rainy weather or the time of the year, nobody really thinks too much about it. Couple of Tylenol later and you're back in the game or whatnot. And, but the problem there is that you're also remain contagious and can continue to spread it. And the third, which is the thing that we're most worried about, especially with the aging population and whatnot, and why the country I feel has been hit so hard is if you're, because there's no treatment, there's no so to speak, antidote or vaccine, what happens is your immune system has to beat this thing. And if it progresses in either a high quantity, or if it progresses on somebody that has maybe either a compromised or just generally weaker immune system, it develops into an pneumonia in your lungs. And that's where you get fluid buildup. And if you don't get a ventilator or one of these respirators or whatnot, then you can be in some trouble. So that's why we're seeing, these cases develop. And, I think the overall preparedness, I don't think anyone was really prepared for it, but I think that the overall response that this country's been making, and especially the doctors and nurses and now, various volunteers and people coming out of retirement, military doctors and things that have set up north, they've been doing what they can. And, it's just a matter of a sheer just number of people that have contracted this, and that's the situation. So that's pretty much widely available on the news, but also you hear it and you're friends with people that are friends of friends and whatnot. So that's pretty much put everybody onto a state of alert, and we've all been doing our best to follow this follow this order. So
man, that's crazy, man. So what do you think about the US? Like obviously you're in whatever phase you're in, and then we are at where you just were. What would you say to us? Because I'm going to tell you right now how it's going right now. And I'm sure you went through this phase too, but not too long ago, maybe a couple days ago, nobody really took it serious. I'll tell you right now, for me, I thought it was being blown out of proportion. And then now it's getting to the point to where we're seeing what's happening to you guys, and it's getting worse here. And now it's starting to become alarming. And we want to, for the majority, I feel like most of the people want to be locked down and they want to get it over with. But there's still these people that are out going to bars and doing all these social things. And we're like, yo, lock it down. What do you think?
I think that there needs to be definitely a rise in awareness of exactly what it is. And I don't think that we've been able to come out, or that, the government officially or the World Health Organization has been able to come out officially, because I think that it's so new that they don't really know that. And so the risk that they're going to say something that isn't correct. But I think that's what's kind of been holding things up. But to be fair, I think that the population should heed, some of the guidelines that were put out by our government about, social distancing. That's something that we've been practicing here now, like I said, for about 2 weeks. It hasn't seen this dramatic, so to speak, when they talk about the curve fall off yet, but that was also expected. They estimated that our curve is going to top out around between the 18th and the 21st. So right around the time that we're speaking now. This weekend was supposedly, now we're going to see in the next few days how that, if that's the case, if this measure is working or whatnot. But I think that that's something that's definitely prudent. I think that people should stock up on the necessities that they need to ride it out for a little bit. I think that, one thing that people need to understand, at least over here, is that, we do have access to groceries. We can go to our grocery store. You're supposed to stand a meter away from each person in line, and they let in a certain number of people depending on how big the store is. And, now it's going to take, 40 minutes to wait in line, or 20 minutes if you go to a smaller place. I'm fortunate enough to be near a place that's relatively small in a neighborhood that's not as busy. But, it really doesn't change that much in our day. We're not doing anything anyway. So if you're going to have, it's not like you got to run to the store and you got to do all the rest of your errands and get your things done. It's, it just becomes a part of the reality. And, that'll alleviate, I think, some of people's panic when it comes down to, are we going to have enough food to eat? Maybe leave stuff on the shelf for other people that can't make it out of their house every other day or every 3 or 4 days. I could anticipate that in the States, yes, it's going to get more restrictive when it comes down to, movement and, if what can be open and how many people can be in certain areas. And I think it's a good measure because that's what's going to get this thing to clear.
Yep.
So,
And just to clarify, he actually, you were born in the U.S.?
yeah, I was born and raised in Chicago. I moved
Yeah.
out here when I was
And then
21.
21, he's been out in Florence. You're in Florence right now, right?
Yes, been living in Florence.
You've been there for a long time. What, 15 years, something like that?
14.
14? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then lockdown. How many days have you been in lockdown?
This is it's going to be on 2 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
And
on Monday. So 13 days.
how many times have you been out?
Four
4 times.
times. Yeah.
Is it stir crazy?
I mean, I keep myself busy. I think what you got to do is you got to try and get your rest. And I try and sleep in a little bit later than I normally do to get, to eat up kind of the hours. Being back on being American out here for me, that kind of puts my time to where I can talk to close family and friends at their morning time in the United States when they're waking up. I'll talk to my father, or I'll talk to different friends or different family. So that eats up a good chunk of my day. It's turned into, that. And then in the evenings, the boys are all getting together on the either WhatsApp or the Messenger chat. We got, 4 or 8 guys in there, and we're calling just random peoples and screwing around and, doing, having a couple of tall boys and just hanging out and, just like we would any other time if we were together, nothing too exaggerated, but, you have your fun. And then you'll see that by being indoors, you get tired and you go to bed and you try and sleep as long as you can. So,
Well, homie, I know you said you had to run pretty quick. I can't thank you enough for talking to me. I know a lot of people appreciate this, and I definitely do. And I wish you all the best, Tyler, man. If you need anything when you get over here, you let me know. And if I don't see you in the States, I'll see you next year in Italy.
Sounds good, man. I do appreciate it. And yeah, like I said, I just want to make sure everybody knows to take this seriously and to do the best they can to keep the distance and to, take care of themselves and their families by staying away from one another, especially if you do have to be in the workplace or if you do have to be in a busy area or if you're around something, and, stack up a little bit of resources, spend some time at home, and we're all going to get through this. So
I love it. Thanks, brother.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, my friend.
See ya.
Ciao.